For your chance to win here on 96.7 The Eagle.
Latest news from Stan Maddox. The most accurate weather from staff meteorologist Wayne Mahar. Your number one source for news and information in LaPorte County is 96.7 The Eagle. Welcome to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle, LaPorte County's original social media. Sound Off is a public interest forum that encourages your voice to be heard on the topics and issues impacting our local communities. For the next 30 minutes, we invite you to be part of the conversation by calling 219-362-0522. And you can now text your questions to the Liquor Vault on-air line or by email to soundoff@967theeagle.com. This is a topic-based program, and we ask that you keep your comments brief, concise, and related to the topic being discussed. The views expressed on Sound Off are those of the hosts or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media, LLC, or the sponsors. The Liquor Vault on-air line is now open for your calls or texts at 219-362-0522. This is Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Hello, friends. Today is September 10th, and you're listening to Sound Off only on 96.7 The Eagle. I'm your host, Nate Laux. It's good to have you with us. I want to give a quick shout out to our regular producer, Dennis Siddell, who is currently on the roof here at the studio raising money for the 19th annual Deserving Children Roof Sit. The goal is to raise over $40,000, and we believe with your help we're going to do it. So if you want to partner with us as we help hundreds of children have a better Christmas this year, stop by the studio, donate some money, buy some lunch, and be a part of doing a great thing. All right? It's time for On This Day in History. Break out the flannel, friends, because it was on this day in 1991 that a little song by three unknown guys, Kurt Cobain, Chris Novoselic, and Dave Grohl, was released. That song smells like Teen Spirit, and it went on to define a generation and a genre. The song quickly grew to worldwide acclaim, becoming number one in countries like Belgium, France, New Zealand, and Spain, and of course, America. Kurt Cobain said about the Gen X anthem, "I was trying to write the ultimate pop song. I was basically trying to rip off the Pixies." If you're familiar with the Pixies, good for you. Cobain said he wrote this song because he was feeling disgusted with my generation's apathy and with my own apathy and spinelessness. So Gen Xers listening, know that one of the songs that helped define your generation is now 30 years old, which means you are not a spring chicken anymore. Okay, let's get to the show. My guest today is Michigan City Councilperson Bryant Dabney. Mr. Dabney is in his second term as the First Ward Councilperson, which includes areas like the Eastport neighborhood, Elston Grove, and Sheridan Beach. It's nice to have you back on the show, Councilman. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good afternoon.
Good to have you. And if you have a question from Councilperson Dabney, you can call the Liquor Vault or text the Liquor Vault online at 219-362-0522. Let me give you that number again, 219-362-0522, or email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. So we could talk about a few things today that are on my mind, but one of the issues that our listeners are always concerned about is money. Michigan City is receiving $16.7 million from the federal American Rescue Plan. The purpose of this money is to make investments into the community and help people, industries, businesses that were impacted by COVID-19 in some way. But that said, there is pretty broad latitude in the ways this money can be spent. So how has Michigan City decided how that money will be spent? How are the conversations going? Do you have any ideas?
I have plenty of ideas, but as of right now, Michigan City does not have its own plan as to what we're going to do with these funds. I know there's going to be some revenue replacement or reimbursement that was lost, when COVID hit us really bad. Mm-hmm. We had a total amount of about $4 million in terms of actual revenue that was cited as being lost through the pandemic. And we can replace that. I don't know if we're going to replace the whole $4 million or anything like that, but that is a number that I was given that we could replace in terms of revenue. There'll be other ideas, and there have been ideas of what we should use that money for. We're going to be coming together as a council, hopefully real soon, along with the mayor, in order to actually work out a plan. Like I said, at this point, there is no plan of what we're going to do with all of that money.
So how would you rate Michigan City's financial health as a city right now?
We're in good shape in terms of the finances right now. We did a lot of cuts last year in terms of capital projects where we just didn't purchase anything. and didn't do big capital expenditures. So now that's left us in a lurch where we have to do some things now. It's time to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, I know recently your fire, your street department, your police have come to the council and said, we need essentially $1.5 million to purchase some important things that we've been putting off. These aren't just, mindless expenses. These are important things. And the approval for that was tabled for another month to figure that out. Where do you stand on that? What for our listeners in Michigan City, it's important to make sure, I'm sure all of our listeners want to make sure that especially our police, our EMTs, our, first responders are funded as well as they can. But where's that money going to come from?
The way it came up at first is I sponsored some additional appropriations to come from our Riverboat Fund, which is currently at about $5 million. Then some of the council people had some issues with it, and they tabled it for a couple of meetings to get more information. But what happened is right after that meeting, about 15 minutes after we left that meeting, we had an email that gave the dollar amounts that they were looking for. The city controller went down and emailed us with that information. And so that brings us to our last meeting. Now, none of those things were even on the agenda. They were tabled, I believe, for 2 meetings, something like that. So, at this point, we're trying to want to move over into that American Rescue Plan money, of which we have no plan right now. So I'm of the belief that we needed to use the riverboat right now to encumber that money so these departments can start to order all of the things that they need. I brought up last night in our council meeting, I work over here at NDOT, and we're ordering things like snowplow blades and things like that for our dump trucks. And we're ordering now. Hopefully, we will have those by winter. So every week we push this back. We are running the risk of not getting things in time. So that was my push, that let's do it now at a riverboat, and then we can actually reimburse those funds later. Another resolution came up where they wanted to move all these things into the American Rescue Plan. It was tabled. Just about everything on the agenda was tabled. And so we're going to have a meeting about that on, I think it's the 14th, that'd be next week, to talk about these things. So it's just going to extend out further when we need to have some urgency right now to get these capital expenditures, and then we can reimburse down the line. So that's how my mind works, thinking about these finances and what is needed by these city departments. I actually apologize to the city departments that we are dragging our feet. We're not seeing the urgency in getting this, even though others said they see the urgency. But we had a chance to do second and third reading last night. If we would have stayed on track with these expenditures from the riverboat, and we could have had things, they can go out and start doing orders based on the fact that we would have encumbered the funds last night.
So your departments are ready to order this stuff.
They're ready.
You just got to give them approval to order. And like you said, I think it was a good point that your experience at NDOT, I think, is an experience that not only other companies, businesses are having, but even individuals, production's behind, right? In many different ways. And so ordering something right now, especially if it's not something that's going to be on the shelves at Lowe's or Walmart or something like that, could take months. You get an early snow or something, and something happens, and you get angry voters that are upset because, the things that they needed that the street department has been requesting for months wasn't to them. And it wasn't certainly your street department's fault, because they thought enough to do it.
Exactly.
They just didn't get the approval to order it. So
and then there's also the problem with prices going up. I'll give you another example. I'm working over here at NDOT. We have put purchase orders out to purchase some big equipment. And then all of a sudden the company comes back and says, well, we know we quoted you $2,500 for something, but now due to our expenses and the increase, that is now $6,000. So we need to start encumbering, getting our orders out there, getting these materials all taken care of, to lock in the prices as well. So it's a timing issue, and it's also pricing issue. So I tried to make that point, but
are you expecting a decision to be made before the end of September?
I hope so. Like I said, I thought last night we should have been second and third reading with some of these things to get those moving down the line. So hopefully by the end of September, I'm not going to say anything in terms of it being a certainty. But
a good policy for any politician is not to promise, too
exactly.
much. Well, we've got Councilman Bryant Dabney from Michigan City on the show today. If you have a question, you're welcome to call or text me, 219-362-0522. The Liquor Vault on-air line is open. Let me ask one more question before we get to some callers here. The Michigan City NIPSCO Gen Station will be closing. And there's been ongoing talk about what to do with the remaining coal ash that is in some of the areas around that. And there are a lot of listeners, a lot of people concerned. Obviously, you watch Flint, you watch things that are happening around the country with environmental issues, water issues, these kind of things. First, if you can, for all of our listeners, I assume we do have the most intelligent listeners in all of the county. But for those that don't know what coal ash is, what is it? But also, Michigan City is kind of in some kind of conversations with NIPSCO about what to do with that. Can you explain that to our listeners?
What it's really boiling down to is to cover up the coal ash or to remove it. Obviously, the city, we want this removed. There's a retaining wall, and where NIPSCO is built right on our lake. And I made the comment in a council meeting before, this is simply about our drinking water. This is the safety of our drinking water. There's a retaining wall out there. It's about 100 years old. And so we don't want to just cover this, in the ground, cover this coal ash. We want it dug out. That's where we stand as a city. We actually passed a resolution saying that. But a resolution is just basically saying that you support something. It wasn't an ordinance. It wasn't a law. But we really want to make sure we stay on top of this, along with IDEM. And there's a lot of people in the public that this has gotten their attention. We want this stuff dug out because we don't want it seeping into Lake Michigan to affect our drinking water.
And if I understand it correctly, NIPSCO has agreed to essentially take out what is maybe fresh coal ash, right? The stuff but Michigan City, as you guys are talking about the future of that space without that plant, redoing it, redeveloping these kind of things, you would like all of it, the stuff that's been there, sitting there for dozens and dozens of years, that is in the ground even, to be taken out.
Exactly. I really don't see that as something that's negotiable. In my mind, we want it all out. This, like I said, this is the safety of my city. This is the safety of other cities. Once it spreads into the water, it can go anywhere in the lake. This is about safety of the people. So I don't see that as being a negotiable thing in terms of not getting it all out. It has to be dug out.
All right, we're going to take our first caller. We've got Councilperson Bryant Dabney on the show today. Michigan City Councilperson Bryant Dabney. We've got our first caller. Welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. What's your question for Councilperson Dabney?
Councilperson Dabney, this is Doug Samuelson. I'm the president of FOP. We've met before.
Yes.
Over Michigan City. But my question is this, and I know you're talking about crisis with stuff needing to be done. The Michigan City police cars are in terrible condition. We have a canine car that the motor quit running with the dog in it, which could ultimately kill the dog. We have another one that the air conditioner quit working. We have cars with 150,000. We have 11 Crown Vics. I think this is a crisis, a safety issue. I've approached a couple other councilmen on this, and they put it in the mayor's lap. I actually went to the mayor, and the mayor is working to get a lease program. My question is this: are you guys going to speed this up to get these officers safe with cars that everything works and safe for the community too? Because if a car fails while going down the street chasing somebody, it could hit a house. So that's my question.
Thanks so much for calling. Great question.
Yes, and I totally agree with you. This is about the safety of the people, the safety of our officers in these cars. And once again, this was something that was put on the back burner as we stopped with the capital purchases. The cars are under that category. So we really need to move forward to get these things done. I would love to see, once again, we could use the riverboat funds right now and start to move these things forward, and then possibly look at reimbursement from ARP funding down the line. So I totally agree with Mr. Samuelson in that we need to, once again, see the urgency of what is needed with these capital expenditures for the police in terms of the cars, the fire department, the street department, and all of these different departments here that are waiting for these capital expenditures and this equipment that they need to keep the city running and moving forward. So I agree with him. We really need to take some urgency here, get this funding, move forward to make sure these cars are here. You get people and some of the people in the public that want to argue about that. And it's interesting. I think I have a deeper understanding of how the budget works with the riverboat funds and our general fund and everything like that. So I think it's time for us to move forward. And then now that we have that $16.7 million from ARP funds, now we have a backstop. We can possibly even reimburse ourselves, but we have to get these things done now.
Yeah. All right. We've got Michigan City Councilperson Bryant Dabney on the show. If you have a question, you're welcome to call or text the Liquor Vault on-air line at 219-362-0522 or email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. We're going to take a quick break. Get up, maybe stretch a little unless you're driving, but stay right here on 96.7 The Eagle.
10 for $10 is back at Meijer. Buy 10 items and get the 11th free. Save more across the store with 10 for 10 savings on things like extra large avocados, Chobani Greek yogurt, Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, and Meijer Essential Paper Towels. Plus, get free pickup on orders over $35. Enjoy more savings with 10 for 10 at Meijer. Exclusions apply. See all the deals in the Meijer app.
LaPorte Slicer High School football is on 96.7 The Eagle all season long. Tonight, the Slicers travel to Chesterton to take on the Trojans. Slicer football at 96.7 The Eagle brought to you by Auto Body Specialties, LaPorte Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Pavey Excavating, MC Doors, All Star Autos, Haverstock Funeral Home, K Tool and Fire, T-Berry's Diner, Rosie Michaels of Coldwell Banker First Choice, Raymond and Spence Insurance Group, Cubit Networks, and by the Slicer Football Association. Chip Jones and Steve Manor have all the action beginning at 6:45 tonight on your radio home for Slicer Sports, 96.7 The Eagle.
Hello, this is Dale Nouse with Cutler Funeral Home and Cremation Center. You are invited to join us for our 125th anniversary open house. We simply want to thank the community for allowing us to serve your family for so many years. It will be held on Saturday, September 25th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 2900 Monroe Street in LaPorte. There'll be plenty of food, free raffles for restaurant gift certificates, gift baskets from local businesses, and much more. LaPorte's Rock 106.5 will be there from noon until 2. We do require you to RSVP by September the 17th by calling 219-362-2828. That's RSVP by September the 17th to 219-362-2828. See you on the 25th.
It's mom season at Landscaping by Smalls Garden Center and Stoneyard. Shop Smalls for your moms while supplies last. On sale at Smalls, all plants, shade trees, shrubs, evergreens, and perennials, and all outdoor decor items are 30% off. Visit Landscaping by Smalls Garden Center and Stoneyard on US 20 in LaPorte. Need it delivered? Smalls can do it. And for a free custom landscaping estimate, call John or Julie at Smalls. Phone 778-2568. Landscaping by Smalls Garden Center and Stoneyard. Open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday 10 a.m. till 4.
Look at all the things I've collected over the years in here, Dave.
Why, Dad?
So you'll have many things to remember me by, and, I'm sure you can use it all someday.
But, Dad, I can't use all these things.
Yeah, but just think, it's all yours someday.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Dad. Is that a bumper I see buried with this stuff?
Oh, hey, yeah, I believe it's your mom's 1976 Pinto. And again, it's going to be yours someday.
Do you have things you don't need or want anymore? Are you tired of seeing things that you thought was a good idea to buy and then turn around and put it away in some corner of your garage? Well, you're in luck. At 96.7 The Eagle, we can help by reading your garage, rummage, estate, or yard sale during Tradio. All you need to do is visit hometownnewsnow.com, click on the Submit tab, and fill out the form, and we'll contact you for the payment. It's that simple. Of course, we do accept debit and credit cards for payment. So listen weekdays at 9:45 for your sale to be read live on 96.7 The Eagle, and check out the listings at hometownnewsnow.com.
Michiana weather.
With some sun through the afternoon, highs rebound to the upper 70s. South winds 5 to 10. Mainly clear to partly cloudy tonight, 58, 86 Saturday. From the Weather Center at hometownnewsnow.com. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Right now, 75.
Your opinion matters. We invite you to share it by calling or texting the Liquor Vault on-air line at 362-0522. That's 362-0522. Now, back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Welcome back, friends. You're listening to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle. I am Nate Laux, and on the show with me today is Michigan City Councilperson Bryant Dabney. I'm glad to have you with us, Bryant. And we've been talking about some things like budgeting, these kind of things.
Yes.
There's been lots of talk in your city council meetings, in the public, about the Michigan City Promise Scholarship and what to do with its future. Currently, this college money is given to those families who own homes in the city and attend Michigan City area schools, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
Excluded groups in there, though, are obviously renters living in the city, Michigan City high school students living outside of the city limits.
Exactly.
And then students attending things like Marquette, And so the council has been asking whether or not they want to expand the group of potential students that are eligible for the scholarship or not. If you expand it, I know there's been conversations, if we expand it to private schools, does that encourage more, essentially getting the scholarship or being the potential for the scholarship gives a reason to stay in the public schools, right? So where do you land on some of that? How's the conversation happening with the Promise Scholarship?
First of all, this kind of came up out of the blue. Yeah, we were just moseying along, and then all of a sudden an ordinance came out that was put up by a couple of council members in regards to basically wanting to give money to graduates of parochial school, which would be Marquette High School, basically in Michigan City. The Promise Scholarship, I'll just kind of go back to from the beginning. The Promise Scholarship actually starts your calculation of the dollars back in 7th and 8th grade. So if you start to allow parochial schools, I believe that could lead to students leaving Michigan City High School as well as the middle schools, because that's when your calculation of the dollars starts. So they could go into other private schools at that level. And obviously, me being a city councilman, I understand how when students come to the public schools, for example, $7,100 per student. That is what Michigan City area schools receives for public school, the students there. And if they leave, that's $7,100 out of the door. And right now, the way it's set up, your teachers and your staff are funded through headcount. Property taxes and all those other things go into busing, buildings and things of that sort, not your staff. So I see it as a way to keep that money in the schools. We need more money in the school systems to be able to more teachers, smaller classes, better learning environment. The Promise Scholarship was put together, and I'm the last council member that was on the original committee for this. There was the talk of trying to increase the enrollment in Michigan City area schools. There's a sheet of paper that went around that was kind of an example that did not list that. So people say, oh, that wasn't the goal. Yes, it was the goal. I was in every meeting when we built this thing. So we wanted to increase the level of the number of people that are in the high schools to be able to help our students that are graduating from Michigan City area schools. And that's part of the intent, like I said, was, to try to build some of the enrollment in the Michigan City area school system. Now, in terms of the renters, now we said when we first put this thing together, when it first came out, that we would take a look at it in 4 years or so to see the finances, how much money would have been spent on those students that we targeted from the beginning, the homeowners, Michigan City area schools. And now we have about $3 million that's sitting in that fund that we're calling a fund for the Promise Scholarship. So now some of the council members feel, okay, since we have that much money, let's go ahead and dole it out to some students in the parochial schools. But in my mind, the unintended consequence is that you're promoting people to leave the Michigan City area school system, the public school system, to go to a private school. I gave the example. I worked over in East Chicago school system, School City of East Chicago. You see it in Gary as well. Charters, private schools popping up all over the place. Students leak out of the public school system. There goes the money. There goes the teachers. There goes the school system. And I don't know if I didn't make that point clear enough when I talked about that, but that is a big issue. And like I said, I lived it I saw it. And then every year, at the end of the year, you were trying to figure out the money for next year. This is when I was working at the school city of East Chicago. Teachers sitting around wondering, will I be invited back based on the head count in the school system? That's strictly where the money comes from to fund these, the teachers and everything like that. So it's a big hit, or possible, you're allowing for a big hit of people to leak out into the private schools and leave the public school system.
We've got Michigan City Councilperson Bryant Dabney on the show. If you've got a question, you're welcome to call or text 219-362-0522. The Liquor Vault on-air line is open, 219-362-0522. We've got some texts coming in. Let me read these to you. I own a home near Walker and Tryon. I'd like to know if the city will replace broken and uneven sidewalks, and if there's any beautification projects in our part of the city, street corners that are overgrown and unsightly. These things like that are happening. Thank you.
Tryon and Walker. Mm-hmm. Know it well. What's going on now? We had only one or a couple of code enforcement officers. And I'll get around to the sidewalks and beautification there. But a lot of things were going on in the city. These people could not cover the whole city, the way you want them to. They were basically on demand. I would call them and say, I have an issue here with some code enforcement, or people would call in. So they would go around and take care of some issues. But now we have a bigger staff. So they're out there doing more enforcement. The laws haven't changed. These laws have been on the books. But now they're doing more code enforcement because there are more people out there. So I just wanted to address that because that usually comes on the back end of some of those questions. Now with the sidewalks, I will give my email, bdabney at eMichigan City. At eMichiganCity.com, bdabney at eMichiganCity.com, because lately we've had some paving projects, and the city council has had more of a say-so in what happens in terms of sidewalks and things like that. If you give me an email and talk about some of these places, I'll put those in the hands of the street department and the people that do these kinds of things. I can't say that everything will be done, but I can make it known that when the time comes, when the money and the funds arrive, that we can do these type of things. The normal way is that they have what's called a Paiser rating, where they go around and rate all of the streets. And we really used to rely on that quite heavily. They would rate the streets, and then the worst streets would be the ones that would get the pavement. But now they're allowing more input from the city council. So I drive around my ward. I see a couple of streets. I can name a couple off the top of my head that I know need to be paved. Grace Street that runs off of Michigan Boulevard all the way down to Springland Avenue. We have Walker Street that runs down to Woodland, coming all the way from Vale and even further down to 8th Street. I know that needs paving as well. So now I'm getting the chance to put in some requests for some of these, I would call those beautification projects. Mm-hmm. And then, in terms of getting streets paved throughout the city. So.
All right, here's another text we received. We've got Michigan City Councilperson Bryant Dabney on the show today. You're welcome to call or text the Liquor Vault on-air line at 219-362-0522. Here's a text. This was apparently stated by a councilperson last night, so this is in reference to this. Why are sidewalk plow machines more important than life-saving equipment such as jet skis for fire department, street sweepers to remove any harmful debris, and contaminants from Lake Michigan drainage? Police vehicles for which a better patrol.
In my mind, they're not. There is an ordinance that's on the record. And I didn't speak out about this last night when that comment was made, because sometimes it can look like I'm just argumentative. But there is an ordinance right now on the books that says if you own the adjacent property to the sidewalk, you're responsible for the sidewalk. So now the comment was made, well, they can pave down Michigan Boulevard. They can pave Franklin. What about Thomas Street, where I live? What about Pleasant Avenue, Woodland Avenue, Helen Street, where my constituents live? What about Holiday? What about so now what happens is you've put this responsibility where you have two Kubotas. That's what they're talking about, two things that could go and pave the sidewalks. When we have this ordinance that says you're responsible for your sidewalk of the adjacent property, but what if they go over and pave one area of the city but don't make it to the other side? What are you going to do with those people when they start to complain? So in my mind, I think it's a bad idea for us to try to take that on. If we could get 10,000 of them and cover all of the streets, but now you're turning it into an issue where who's going to choose? Who's going to choose what area are you going to pave the sidewalks for? So that one right there, I think can bring some liability to the city that I think is, we really don't want to take that on. And if you look, just about every city has that ordinance in place, so they're not responsible for going around trying to pave sidewalks all over the place. It's just a monumental task.
All right. Well, we've got a caller. We're gonna. Those of you that are calling right now, just hold on real quick. We're gonna get to you because we got to go on break. I've went too long. We got to make some money for this station and the show. I don't want to get fired. So stay right there. Keep listening to 96.7 The Eagle.
Hi, everyone. I'm Craig Orndorff. On the next weekend in the country, we head back to September of 1988, when George Bush and Michael Dukakis were battling for the presidency. Regis and Kathy Lee went national, and Yellowstone Park was on fire. And the hot hits of the day were by Randy Travis, Eddie Raven, Rodney Crowell, Highway 101, and Kathy Mattea. We'll have them and more on the next Weekend in the Country.
Join us this Saturday following your 8 a.m. news for Weekend in the Country, brought to you by Burdine Auto Body, Mike Nagy, Cross Country Mortgage, Joe Eberhard Happel with Coldwell Banker First Choice, and by Haverstock Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
It's time to go. You hop into the car and think, I'll be there in just the nick of time. Then you hit the button to open your garage door and nothing happens. Don't panic. MC Doors same-day service is here for you. For over a quarter century, homeowners and businesses throughout Northwest Indiana and Southwest Michigan have trusted MC Doors, not only for the unpredictable emergency, but also to install the door that gives the right look and functionality. Reach out to local owners Jason and Kimberly Wood at MC Doors. That's mcdoors.com.
The 16th Annual Hoosier Star Vocal Competition will take place this Saturday, September 11th at 7 p.m. at LaPorte Civic Auditorium, located at 1001 Ridge Street. Doors open at 6. New this year is a $15 pay-per-view virtual live stream if you're unable to attend the event in person. That's this Saturday, September 11th at 7 p.m. More information about Hoosier Star and other offerings by the LaPorte County Symphony Orchestra can be found at lcso.net. That's lcso.net. Come find out who your next Hoosier Star will be this Saturday, September 11th. Masks are to be worn upon entrance.
Join 96.7 The Eagle every Sunday morning from 9 to 9:30 a.m. for Bethany Church's Sound Up. Enlighten your Sunday morning with inspirational words of faith from Pastor Dennis Meyer. Bethany Church's Sound Up every Sunday morning from 9 to 9:30 a.m. on 96.7 The Eagle.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Refresh your home with a new coat of Dutch Boy Forever paint and primer in one. It offers exceptional hide and fade resistance for a beautiful color that lasts. Get 11% off Dutch Boy Forever exterior paint. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through September 11th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
No job is too big or too small. Auto body specialties, we do it all. Quality's number one in auto body repair. To get fixed up, you know where. Foreign or domestic, we're your local shop. All work guaranteed, but we're hard to top. No job is too big or too small. Auto body specialties, we do it all.
Every 6 minutes, a utility line is damaged by reckless digging. So Indiana relies on 811 superheroes like Steve the plumber.
I contact 811 before I do my work.
Mary the gardener.
Before I plant a tree, I contact 811.
And Mike the landscaper.
I dig for a living, but always contact 811.
Prevent damages or injury. Call 811 or go online. 811now.com.
Sponsored by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, this station, and the Indiana Broadcasters Association.
We're waiting to hear from you. Dial or text 362-0522 and let us know what you think. That's 362-0522. Back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Welcome back, friends. My name is Nate Laux, and you're listening to the final segment of today's Sound Off. In the studio with me today is Michigan City Councilperson Bryant Dabney. We've got a couple minutes left on the show. If you've got a question for Councilperson Dabney, 219-362-0522. Let's get to our call. Hello. Thanks so much for waiting. Thanks for listening. What's your question for Councilperson Dabney?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. First, Nate, I think
text messages should take a back seat to phone calls. If they're too chicken to call, they should have to wait. That's my opinion on that. And the longer I was listening, it gave me more stuff to come up to talk to you about, Bryant.
All right.
Hey, first of all, on the south side of Michigan City, we got Paz Road. You're talking about paving streets. I don't know if that one's on the list, but it's got, you don't have to worry about people speeding because you got so many dips in the road. You got to slow down for the dips. And they did put lights up there, but it's okay in the summer, but it gets dark so early, and those lights are kind of far and few between. You really need sidewalks and more lighting before someone does get killed on Paz Road. But finally, what I really called about was the license plate readers. I hope you guys really seriously look into this, putting them at the entrances to our city like they do in Hammond and some of the other cities over there, because they really work. It stops them bringing, people with stolen cars. They're going to think twice about driving to Michigan City if they know there's a license plate reader there. So you kind of prevent crime even before it gets started.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll hang up and listen and let someone else call. Have a good weekend, guys.
Yeah, you too, bud. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, and just to address the license plate reader, this actually came up right at the end of the Mayor administration, and we had Chief Swistek. He came in and talked about a license plate reader and how that was going to be used. But the way it went out into the public was everybody felt like that's an invasion of privacy, or you're only going to use these vehicles, because it'd be a vehicle, the way it was explained to us, that would go around the city and it would flag the license plates, and it goes into a system, and if there's warrants for that, a license plate or something, it could ding, all these other cities that would be hooked into this thing. So the way it was put out, it was called a big invasion of privacy, and it just never got the legs to move forward. But that has been considered, and I would imagine that's probably going to come back. I can't say exactly what's going to come back, but I know it did come up at one time, and that is a good observation. If you put those at the entrance points to the city, now you kind of take out that thing of where you're driving around the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. That was a big concern. So that was actually good information. I appreciate that.
All right, just a couple minutes left on the show. We've got Bryant Dabney, Michigan City Councilperson. Let's get to another caller. Hello. Thank you so much for waiting. Thanks for calling. What's your question for Councilperson Dabney?
Yes, we're talking about the police department, and earlier they called in about the cars being all broke and that. Well, last week, I guess it became so bad that they didn't even have any more cars. They had to go to another department and pull a car off of there in order for a patrolman to go out and even patrol. And it's a little ridiculous because the mayor has a police car, and I'm sure Mr. Dabney knows that car for the mayor was bought through the police budget. Now, why don't we take the car away from the mayor? Because he said at the beginning that he would use his own car.
All right.
And secondly, these people are wrecking these cars. They're wrecking them. The chief wrecked his car. The assistant chief now, he wrecked his car, totaled it. Why aren't they held responsible for this stuff? I don't understand it.
All right. Thanks so much for calling. Good questions.
Yeah, this is getting into more probably something to do with policy that would need to be implemented into the police department in terms of wrecked cars and people who are wrecking cars. And he mentioned about having to pull a car off from another department. I'm not aware of that. I mean, some of those day-to-day operations, they don't tell the council about those type of things. So I have no response to that because I don't have the information.
Yeah, you're not saying it didn't happen.
I'm not saying it didn't happen, but you can't speak on something with authority or with any kind of intelligence if you don't know that that's happening. So there is a concern with accidents and things of that sort, but really it's going to have to be worked out with mayor, council, and then with policies of what could be done to hold folks accountable.
It goes back to your original point to say the money needs to get spent, correct?
Yes.
I mean, So we've got time for one more caller real quick. Thanks so much for calling. Thanks for listening. What's your question for Councilperson Dabney?
It's more of a comment. I just wanted to, not sure if you knew that, LaPorte got sued about the sidewalk ordinance that we had by John Culverhouse, and the city is now forced to pay for the sidewalks in LaPorte, whether they wanted to or not.
Yeah, it was the ADA compliance, so it was the coming onto the sidewalks and going off on the sidewalks. Right. So, yeah, I mean, obviously there's the potential litigious element of not having the right sidewalks and stuff like this that has happened to people in LaPorte, and Michigan City could suffer the same consequences. Well, we've had Councilperson Bryant Dabney on the show today, and it's been so great to have you back on the show. What do you want our listeners to know?
Well, I was hoping to get a chance to talk about a project that I brought up.
Real quick, you got a minute and a half. Go.
A minute and a half. All right, let's go. Well, we started talking about ARP funding and everything like that, and someone made the comment that we need to spend so much money by the end of the year. And I'm thinking, we don't have a plan. So I needed to think of something that we can do, get to work right now. So what happened is I started to have some meetings with the North Central Community Action Agency and talk about, because I'm familiar with the programs that they have, right? And one of the programs that they have is a weatherization project where they go around and weatherize homes, provide heating and cooling for folks who can't afford it. But when they go into these homes, they do the inspection, they find out that there may be things like mold and other issues that they cannot do weatherization projects for, right? So they put these folks on what's called a deferred list. So basically they're out. They didn't have the money to fix these issues already, so now they're put on a deferred list. So I came up with the idea. I pitched it to a couple other councilmen, Michael Mack and Councilwoman Dahlia Gigas. And we went and asked for funding to provide money to the North Central Community Action Agency. So when they found these homes that they could not repair with their money, because it's narrow focus, that they could use the funding that we provide to do those repairs, right, and still do the weatherization project. We thought it was a great project to help lots of people in Michigan City, people to be able to stay in their homes and things of that sort. So last night, it was kind of pitched that we're choosing one nonprofit over the others. It's not about the nonprofit. It's about the program. So we're giving them money to continue to make this program better. And it was tabled. So just like everything else was tabled in regards to the capital projects, and this was also tabled as well. There are people that could use this help right now. And once again, everything was tabled. So we think we have a good idea. I know we have a good idea. And I made the comment last night, I'm willing to fight to the end for this one.
So if you're interested in this program, you can contact Councilperson Dabney or your city council person and tell them you think it's a good program as well. And I'm sure hopefully we'll be hearing more about that in the future. So thanks so much for being on the show today.
Right, appreciate it.
I want to thank you so much. If you ever miss an episode, don't forget, you can go to hometownnewsnow.com and listen to the podcast. Don't forget, today